Hi, I'm Elaine Brewster, and welcome to Aspects of Energy, a forum where we talk about ways that you could raise your energy. And boy, I just can't even think of a way better than dancing and, doing exercise that is has a flow to it. We're so pleased today to have Tarra Sachedina on with us. She is a barre teacher and out of Arizona, home base, but right now in British Columbia. And what was I just going to say? Oh, I really don't know what I was just going to say, but it will occur to me. So I'm just going to turn it to Tarra and ask her, what she does and what we would do if we were in her class, and why she likes it. And I guess I know what I was going to say is that for some reason, we've been doing this for many, many months. And Tarra, this is the first time that I've ever had anyone with movement, which I really, really believe in, because I myself usually exercise about 6 days a week. And the other day, on the 7th day, I get on a lymph machine that just vibrates. And so I really, really believe in movement, and we're just so pleased to have you tell us about movement. So go for it, girl.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. So I am a barre teacher. I am also a yoga teacher, and I started my journey in like body movement and how that's connected with the energy, which is all around us, which is made up of inside of us, in 1999. So prior to that, I was never like really involved in school sports or anything like that. We moved around a lot, so there was a lot of like turmoil and like stuff that felt to me like it was just gobbing up inside, and not even in the physical sense, because I didn't have necessarily that connection to think of my physical body as being connected to all of these other things. So took my first yoga class when I was 8 months pregnant with my daughter in 1999. And I mean, like, I just didn't know any better. And I had always been really interested in yoga. And this new place opened up down the street, and they had like a 1 month special. And so everything just really worked out perfectly, so that I did this 1 month special. Oh, this is Snoop. He says hi. He is always on my lap. Huh. And it just so turned out that my 1 month special, I was the only person in class. So I was in this private yoga session for a full month, and I fell in love with the ability that I had to connect body movement with my own energy, with connecting to myself and all of this stuff. So from there, it just snowballed. And I went to yoga teacher training school. I've been teaching yoga since 2007. And then from there, in Phoenix at the time, barre was super, super new. And even now, in a lot of areas, people don't understand what barre is, right? And they think that you have to be a ballet dancer or have this huge dance background to be able to take a barre class. And so as they were starting, some people in the like exercise body movement community had reached out to me and said, "Hey, this new thing is coming to town. Would you be interested in learning how to do it?" And so that's how I got introduced to barre classes, because I had no idea what they were. Barre is a 1 hour, should be, let me rephrase. Barre should be a 1 hour full body conditioning class that incorporates lengthening your muscles, strengthening your muscles, and connecting yourself to your body. Now, because it's super popular, there are many different iterations of barre classes, right, that you can take. And I'm going to say, unfortunately, so many people think that exercise has to be like, go hard or go home. Like, I have to do like the hardest thing possible to be doing it right. And and that's just not the case. And it's definitely not the case with how I lead classes.
Hello.
And so what you'll find in a bar class with me and with the way that we teach is that is it is accessible for any single body, because I know from my own experience and from what I've seen in my own students is that anybody can do anything. We just learn how to modify, right? I want us to get out of this mindset that if you're going to do a plank, it has to look this way. That's not true. You can do a plank using a wall and still be like super engaged and like connecting to yourself. And so then what happens is we layer on these different levels of like, oh, I can do this. Even when I had foot surgery and I was in a boot, I was still able to take classes because I have permission to modify and to listen to my body. And then as we move our bodies and we expand and we become more connected to what I think is like our different pieces of ourself, then we're moving energy at the same time. And we're not feeling so gunked up and so stagnant. It's just like Elaine and I were talking before we started the recording. Anything that is important to us and we practice, we can get good at. But we think that it has to look one way. If I'm going to practice yoga, it can only look like this, or that it has to be so dogmatic or so regimented. And that's, I don't believe, the case, right? We should all feel empowered to connect to ourself and to know that I can move in a way that lets me move throughout my day in a way that keeps me safe. So that's my I'll take a breath now.
So, so it sounds like one of your goals that you want for your people who come to your bar class is for them to be able to execute their day safely and, and be more strengthened to just do normal everyday activities. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's a huge part in it. And, Jeannie has been a student of mine for many years. And we each are on our own path of some days I wake up and I feel really strong and I might take a longer walk or something. And other days I might wake up and need more compassion for myself. And being able to listen to that is key so that then you can move throughout your day knowing that, like, I'm kind of a geek when it comes to anatomy and the way the body works. Everything should be aligned, right? Like if we line up, everything else just falls into place. So even when you're walking, thinking about how you're placing your foot and finding foot foundation so that you have stability from the ground all the way up is an important thing to know. And thank you, Jeannie. And being able to know that and to practice it, but also to be able to practice it in a way that lets you feel successful, strong, and stable.
Do men come to your class?
I do have some men that come to class. It is the types of classes that I teach can be very heady, right? I'm asking you to feel what your body is doing. And a lot of what we do is very small movements. And so that can get frustrating for a lot of people. And I find men specifically, sorry, Charlie, get frustrated with that smaller range of motion as well. Because they're like,
Oh,
how come I'm not doing anything? And this feels really hard, But same thing for like females or women that do like really hard exercises like CrossFit and stuff like that, will come and take my class and then they get frustrated because they're like, I'm not moving, which I think I need to be doing, and it feels hard. So, it's that balance.
let me ask, excuse me, let me ask Jeannie to unmute for a minute and tell us a couple of exercises that you have really enjoyed. Can you do that while you're traveling? I know you're on a phone.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. Yes, I was introduced to Tarra to the bar to Barre also from a friend who recommended it for me because I had injured my knees
Mm.
and I was wanting to get back to working out, which before I did gym work, I would go to the gym, use exercise, equipment and things like that too. And so I wanted to try it, and I was so I worked hard, but I wasn't, like Tara was saying, I wasn't moving like I was used to moving and lifting heavy weights and all these things. But I have to tell you, every class that I take is challenging, and I love that. And I'm stronger in my core, which is very important. And even when I'm washing dishes or standing at the sink, I remind myself to zip up. What is it, Tara? It's root down to.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
in order to rise, we need to root down, right?
Root down,
So we
right.
have to have foundation in order to rise up. Yeah.
Yes. So I use it every day in my work, wherever I am. I'm reminded. So thank you, Tara.
That's
Oh my gosh.
wonderful. Thank you, Jeannie. Can you tell us a little bit more, Tara? Now I have been told that the bar is, a ballet bar, but it's not used to put your legs on and stretch. You use it actually to help do squats and things like that. Can you tell us about the bar and what you do and some of the other equipment that you
Yeah,
use?
absolutely. And Emily had asked too to define bar a little bit better. So there is in a brick and mortar, if you were going to a studio for bar, there will be a ballet bar attached to the wall. And so we use it like this is just a dresser, but I would use it similarly if I were taking class here in this room for stability, right? It's something that I'm going to hold on to. And then we would use it for assistance for squats or for lower body work. But you could also do push-ups at the bar, right? So now this lifts your plank, which takes weight off of the shoulders and the arms, and then actually lets you get into the push-up instead of coming down onto the floor and you're feeling all of this body weight and you start to round through the shoulders. So a bar class, to be a little more specific, is a full body, orthopedically correct, alignment focused class. There are ballet movements, like terms that have been adapted into a bar class, but there are also lots of similarities to a yoga class. There is tons of core conditioning and strengthening, and then stretching as well. So it's a very balanced exercise. It should be a very balanced exercise where you are strengthening muscle, also lengthening and stretching muscles. Because we all want super strong muscles, right? And sometimes, like when we're younger, or maybe even now, we think like, I need biceps that are gonna like pop out or whatever. That's cool, like if that's what you want. And a strong muscle doesn't do you any good if you can't move it. So flexibility and mobility is just as important as strength. And we cover all of that in our bar classes. An example for mobility is right now sitting in your chair. If you just scooch to the edge of your chair, take your feet down onto the ground, and just look down and make sure all your toes are pointing forward so you have parallel feet. And then you sit up tall so you feel like your sits bones or your tailbone on your chair, and lengthen. What we focus most on is called neutral spine, which is that natural S-shaped position of your spine. So think ears over shoulders, over ribs, over hips. We've seen skeletons, right? So that S-shaped curve, we want to find that. Bring your arms up to cactus, or we call it cactus arms because we're from Arizona. So you could also, if you're a football fan, call it goalpost arms. So from here, inhale, arch, take your heart up and your gaze up and back, and then exhale, bring the forearms towards each other and round through the upper back. So it's like a modified cat-cow if you're used to those. Inhale, arch, let the arms open, the chest widens, and then exhale, round. Yeah, now keep doing this, following your own breath. So now what we're doing is we're being intentional, nice Elaine. We're being intentional, keep going, with the way that you're moving your body. You're getting movement through the front and the back of your torso, and you're finding your breath. So just do one more. Inhale, arch. Exhale, round. Sit back up to tall. Let your shoulders come down. And just roll the shoulders, move the neck.
I've never.
Dawn Marie, doesn't that feel amazing? Like, just literally 30 seconds worth of movement, and now you're like, oh, I feel different here.
Yes. Did you hear me moaning?
I can feel it. I can feel it.
Yes.
And that's an exercise literally any person can do. We've all just done it.
Yeah.
And you don't have to go anywhere special or do anything special. So now I no longer have a brick and mortar studio, and I do everything virtually, just like this. So if people don't have a ballet bar, which they make portable ones, which are amazing, but I would say, like, use something that you have lifted here. Look at this plank. Now I'm in a plank. Now I can do push-ups, right? Like, you can do anything from anywhere. And then, we have props, maybe a ball or a yoga block or something that helps you move, that helps you to feel more stable, more connected in your body. So a lot of times my students will hear me say, I want you to get more into the feeling of what your body is doing, more into the being rather than the doing. Our brains are like, oh, I'm going to do a push-up. I have to do the hardest thing possible, and I don't care if it hurts while I do it. Meh, like, I don't understand the point of that. You can still have engagement. You can still feel work happening inside your body, but I'm not trying to punish my body just to do something.
Can you, excuse me, can you tell us a little bit more about this idea that you were talking about being connected? It sounds to me that there's some real layers going on there with mental that's going into the body.
Yeah. So in my classes, I talk a lot about being connected to ourself. And on that first level or layer, we think, oh, great, I feel my body. But we have different self bodies, I think, right? We have our physical self, our mental self, emotional, energetic, and our spiritual self. And all of this makes up this being that's you. And all of it is connected. Same thing, like we just did this heart opener, chest opener. At the end, we move the shoulders and move the neck because everything's connected. If I feel a pain in my knee, it could be something traveling up into my hips or my low back. That's really where the culprit is, right? Mm-hmm. So not just the physical body being connected, but our emotional self. We store emotions inside of our body unless we are dealing with them in real time, which maybe we are right now, but I know I haven't dealt with my emotions real time my entire life. So I have a bunch of stuff that's stuck inside of me. As I move my body, I start to like, I've used the analogy of like scrubbing a dirty pan. If that pan has got a lot of gunk stuck to it, so you got to work at it and soak it and, be gentle, and then eventually it comes clean. That's the same thing with energy and emotion that we store inside of our body. And when I can be intentional about any one part of those things, then the intention kind of flows into the others, right? Mm-hmm. So if I'm going to do this heart opening breathing exercise with attention and intention, while I'm physically moving my body, like my energetic self is being affected, my emotional self is being impacted, right? All of my spiritual self is being impacted because I'm able to be more here rather than like all of these other places that our brain tends to be.
Wow.
So
So
Lorraine said that's where the emotional and body code can come in. Absolutely. Absolutely.
there are a lot of people who have written books on that,
Yeah.
which you probably know, Tara.
Yeah.
Carol Truman, Carol with a K. She wrote a book called Feelings Buried Alive Never Die.
Yes.
She's one of many. And so there are many practitioners. Dr. Bradley Nelson, who uses a wonderful Nikken roller to help the magnetic energy to get a flow through the spine. He developed something he called trapped emotions, and they both talk about these, and others talk about these buried things that stay there for years, and sometimes they're not of our own making. Sometimes
Oh, for
they
sure.
came through DNA and they're generational, and we don't have anything to do about it, but we're still carrying the vibrations, and that means that we're still creating paradigms and acting in certain ways because of how they're vibrating. They usually use some what I'll call purely energetic methods to get rid of those. But you're saying, have you been able to get rid of some things like this using movement?
100%. Because the it's not just exercise, right? I'm noticing how I feel while I do it. I'm working past what my thoughts are saying. I'm not strong enough, or I can't do it this way, or I have this injury, so I can't do this. I'm working past through that kind of storytelling as well. And then because I'm moving my body and paying attention to how I feel and breathing my breath, a lot of these things will start to come up. Plus, like in yoga beliefs, like specific parts of our body hold also specific emotions. So if I'm really opening up through my chest and I have a lot of heart trauma that I've stored in and around this area, then after a heart opening practice, I might feel very vulnerable or angry. I mean, those big feelings, vulnerability, angry, irritation, those types of things can definitely come through after an exercise class. One that's developed and given to you like with lots of awareness and not just like go flip this tire over. But I have definitely, I believe in generational like passing down of trauma.
Oh, it just froze for a minute. Come back, Tara. Oh, don't you love Zooms? While she's coming, you may even need to come out and come back in again, Tara. It's frozen. But while she works on that, some of what she's saying occurs to me that happens with my massage therapist. And he's written about a little bit in my book that apparently now is going to be coming out in January. And it's taken a longer process than I thought. But his word is motion creates emotion. And so he follows the muscles in the body until he can find that place. There she is. And he said, when someone's on his table, if they cry, he knows he was pressing the right place because that motion allowed the emotion to leave.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. Um, Moving our bodies in an intentional way and not in a like, I'm here to punish my body because now I'm getting older, or I don't look like I did when whatever your magic number is, it will start to release emotion that has been stuck in your body. And from there, you can start to heal if you want to.
Wow.
Right? Like, not everybody wants to, right? We all have those friends that are like stuck in the victim mentality of this thing always happens to them. And even though they say that they really want to fix it or heal it or whatever, it just never happens.
It's part of their identity.
Totally. And I will, when I'm working with people one on one, I sometimes can be a little blunt and say like, this is your story. And sometimes it's more comfortable for us to know the story that we hate rather than to be confronted with an unknown story that we don't know anything about. It's scarier.
Well, you have made me want to go over to my bar class at our gym. I really think that I thought that it was much more balletic oriented, and and that sounds a little bit beyond me at this time. But the idea of the connection, the idea of modifying, the idea of of lengthening and stretching and just doing that all sounds doable and really, really wonderful.
The thing is, it should be doable by everyone.
Hmm.
And the biggest tip I can give for anybody who wants to go to an exercise or body movement class is that if it doesn't feel right to you, don't do it. And never ever do something just because the teacher's telling you to.
Oh.
I mean, that's just silly, right? Like you're in charge.
I find different things on YouTube. I mean, I had to because of COVID. Our gym
Yeah.
was closed. So I find lots of different things. And this morning I found one that I had never seen before. And it was a young man and a young, well, to me, they're young, man and a woman. And one was sitting and one was standing. So you could see the modified version. But the whole time they kept saying, okay, now this is what I'm doing and this is what I'm doing. You do it at your own rate, and they were encouraging people, not this, come on, keep it up. They were doing it for a long period of time. I think everything they did was at least 30 seconds, maybe more, which when you're doing just something slowly and repetitively, you can tell that you're doing it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But I was just really impressed with that they encouraged people to modify and to just do what they felt comfortable with.
I hope that that's the trend that we're swinging more into, because for a very long time, that wasn't the case, right? Do it harder, do it faster, do it more was definitely the approach and attitude. And then people get hurt. And, the best example I can have is, so I teach yoga as well. My father-in-law said, oh, I can't do yoga. I went to a yoga class at the gym and it was too hard for me. Well, maybe that class was too hard, but that could be because of what the teacher was teaching, how they were teaching. In my opinion, nothing should ever be too hard for you. You should be able to do it. Even if that means that you stay on the floor the entire time, right? Or your knees are on the ground for an entire plank. You should be able to do it, because there are always modifications that can allow you to do that. And then you do it and you're like, oh my God, I did this. Now I feel better, right? Now I don't feel like some loser that can't do this thing that somebody was telling me to do. I can do this. And that was for me, like so many different types of classes that I went to. I was like, but I don't want to do a handstand. Like that doesn't feel good in my body. So yes, go try the bar class. If it doesn't feel good to you, come back to me and I'll give you some options.
Okay, good. Thank you. Hey, any thoughts, questions? I do want you to know, Tara, that there is nobody on this call that's a loser.
I mean, I know that already.
I have a question. Does it matter the height of the bar?
My question.
So that's a great question. Standard height is I think it's like just over 4 feet. Some bar places will have like a lower one and then a higher one. But there are always, on the ballet bar itself, they should also have a strap around the bar so that you can use the strap to give yourself more stability, right? So you're not just like trying to yank your foot up on this thing, like if you're shorter or the hamstrings feel super tight. And you could also always start lower, like even with some yoga blocks, if you getting your foot up onto the bar is just not something that your body's ready to do, you could start with something lower, even just a chair, right?
Shirley, did you have a thought?
It was the same as Lorraine. I was just curious as to now what, because I mean, I remember my daughter taking ballet and stuff in their bar, and I'm thinking that was lower than what you were just saying. And I thought countertop height, where are we at? So yeah,
Yeah, I personally love countertop height. Like if I'm doing just need a quick stretch at home, I mean, you'll find me with my foot on the countertop and just like stretching there, you know? So yeah, I do like that height for my body. It feels good for me.
yeah, I have railing between my kitchen and my family room, and I use that railing a lot. So
Yeah.
I was just curious about the height.
Perfect. I think, especially if you're doing a stretch at home, the height should feel something that one, you can get in, right? That you can actually get your leg up there, but then also that you're able to feel a stretch. So what I'll say is when you're stretching, I won't get into the anatomy of it. Nurses, you can share in later, but like you're trying to keep the stretch in the muscle rather than the ligaments or tendons. So what that means is that when you go to stretch, engage the muscle and then let it stretch instead of just like blah. Does that make sense? Like you're not just like trying to flop into something. Keep the muscular contraction so that you're stretching the muscle as opposed to like the connective parts.
Wow.
That might be interesting to figure out.
Yeah, so Shirley, you can try it. Like when you stand up to go to your counter, like hold on to something, or the railing, put your foot on there and put the ball of your foot rather than like the arch, and then squeeze the quadriceps.
Okay.
So you squeeze the top of your thigh, almost like you're trying to lift the kneecap up, and you'll feel the stretch will feel differently for you. It should feel less like a pulling and more like a, oh, that's maybe not the clearest way to explain it.
But because I'm reasonably flexible, but at the same time, I know I'm not. Like
Yes.
it's that functional flexibility that's not there anymore.
Yes.
But
Yes.
how you work to get that back.
Engage the muscle as you stretch. People
Like
who
my
are
calves in particular. My
Yes.
calves in particular.
Yes, people who are naturally flexible tend to have a harder time engaging. So just know that and play around with it in your body.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Shirley, what kind of exercise or dance or whatever did you used to do?
I was a track and field athlete. So I
Ah,
ran, played volleyball, played basketball, I did everything as an athlete. So that was many years ago.
unfortunately.
Yeah,
Oh,
like
that's
50
wonderful.
something now.
So do you do anything with connective tissue, Tara?
I do. On Sundays I teach a myofascial stretching and release class, and it is. I mean, I personally think all of us need more rest, more space, more longer stretching, because we're doing all the stuff all the time anyway. This class, we use lacrosse balls or tennis balls to like put into different parts of the body, and we do longer holds and really, thank you, Jeannie, and really letting the body relax. My biggest complaint with that class is it's only an hour long and we're trying to get like the whole body, and it just is never enough time.
That sounds really wonderful.
I have a lacrosse ball, and I actually brushed my teeth with it on my butt against the wall.
Yes. Oh my God, that's perfect.
And I stand, I drop it. I mean, there's nobody else in my house now, so when it lands on the ground, it's not like I'm waking anybody up or whatever. But yeah.
Surely another place that you can do it is between the shoulder blades.
I struggle to keep it there.
Get it there? Yeah.
I mean, I can get it there, but then when I go to move it, I can't seem to get it where I need it to be. I've got it wrapped in my chiropractor mentioned, like use the wrap
like a sock
before you tape an ankle, like that foam stuff. So you wrap it around there so it doesn't slide as much. But that one is a challenge.
So you could also just put it in a sock right? Put the lacrosse ball at the toe of the sock, and now you've got the end of the sock to hold on to,
Okay,
right?
yeah,
Shirley, how big is your lacrosse ball?
it's a lacrosse ball.
Yeah,
It's about
so
that big.
they're like about that big, yeah.
Because the picture that I was seeing, the balls that they were using for this for bar class were those bigger.
So that's different. Yeah, so that's perfect for that. For bar, like this is I'm in my mother-in-law's office, and so this is a ball that she uses when she takes my bar class. Um, and this you would put like between your thighs and stand up and then come up onto the balls of your feet, and now your inner thighs have something to hold on to, right? So this type of a ball, which is bigger, you would use more for support, where the lacrosse balls you use more for like a myofascial release.
Mm.
Can you
Wow.
also use a tennis ball?
Yeah, you could absolutely use a tennis ball. Sometimes I like a tennis ball better because it's a little softer. The lacrosse balls are hard, and it's we have a tendency, if I have a tight shoulder, I want to really dig into it and get it to go, get that soreness to go away. And so sometimes the lacrosse balls can be a little intense. I do like a tennis ball as well.
We use a tennis ball on the feet, on the sole of our feet.
Oh my God, yes. Amazing. Yes, so amazing. And then you could also, Charlie, take it to the top of your foot and just use your hand and lightly massage the top. And that's a beautiful massage for your feet. I love feet.
My wife has a lot of problems with her legs and her thighs. And whenever she goes into any of our exercise classes, I mean, she can't get very much movement.
Yeah.
She can't lift her leg more than 6 inches, or so she has a lot of problems that way. But with the balls, she's starting to get a little bit more movement.
Yeah, using the balls in that aspect. So myofascial connective tissue, if the tighter it gets, just like this, the more it squeezes the muscles and the bloods and the blood and the nerve and all of that. So by starting to release it, you create more space for the other things to do what they need to do. There's some chair exercises that she could do to just start to get some mobility through her legs and her hips. But that feet release is a great place to start.
Are there any of your courses that we could get into just to see what they're like?
Yeah. So I have all of my classes are virtual. I will add my website here,
Please.
and you can see my website and my schedule and that sort of thing. I have a 7-day free pass. So, you could sign up for classes that way. And then if you don't like it, you don't come back, I will say that all of my classes are like this. They're not totally interactive where people are necessarily talking back, but I am looking at you and giving you feedback as you're doing it. So because I don't want you to do something and be misaligned, right? Like in this morning's class, I was telling a student, I was like, lift your chin up just a little bit, right? We're doing a plank and her chin was doing this. Well, this is misalignment for the cervical spine. So you need to do this, right? So it's that type of detail that I'm giving people as I teach.
That's super.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. This is exciting.
I get very excited about it, right? Because I mean, like, I've had people who have broken their backs, who have avoided spinal fusion surgery as a result of classic replacement. People, like, our bodies, we move energy and it just feels better. So why not help us all learn how to move that feels better?
Wow.
Yes,
Tara,
alignment first, Jeannie.
can
Yeah.
I ask Tara, my nephew had a very serious accident last September and he did like it's amazing that he's even alive, but they have put rods and stuff in his back, but I know he is struggling and is in a lot of pain all the time. I heard you were breaking up as you were kind of talking about somebody that had back stuff. So I wasn't sure, like, would this be something that maybe would help him? Like,
Yeah, so I want to be really careful and not like bash on anybody.
Right.
The way I teach is alignment first. And it's I am paying so much attention to each person and their body and their specific thing. The long answer is that if he doesn't get it, then probably not. Did I freeze?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you hear my answer? Okay. It can help him if he has a teacher that understands body and his specific thing.
Okay. Okay.
If he gets a teacher that doesn't understand and really just wants to put him through these movements, then it won't help him.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Anybody else? I think you've given us a lot to think about. I could tell we are all very excited. We want to get into a class right now.
I mean, we could do it.
Let's call and get into a class. Thank you so much, Tara. Wow.
It was my pleasure. Thank you for letting me share my enthusiasm for the body with you.
It's wonderful. And I do love this Zoom. I feel like you're all just my neighbors. You're right next door. Wow. So all of us, let's
Yes,
go out and
exactly.
spread this energy that we've got. Find some people to smile at, because your smile will raise their energy and it will raise yours too. So talk to you later. Thank you.
Thank you
Bye.
so much.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
everyone. Bye.